Hey, what's up, everybody? Rob Sower here with Sower Real Estate, Keller Williams Realty Boise, and boy, it's been a minute, right? I apologize for kind of bailing out on you guys a little bit. We've had a lot going on. I'm sure you guys have too, right? Especially this time of year, Thanksgiving, Christmas coming up, all that good stuff. So in today's video, we're going to talk about a few things. Obviously, we're going to talk about the market and what's been going on there. That's kind of a no-brainer. And we're also going to talk a little bit about just what's been going on in general. But I want you to stick around to the latter portion of the video if you can, because I have a pretty crazy story about something that happened recently in the real estate world and one of the transactions we had where we had to get attorneys involved. Okay, there's the hook right there. All right, so market dynamics. So since the last email newsletter, there really has not been a whole lot of change going on. I mean, we see our typical seasonal decline in active listings. That's every winter time. We see things tail off. We do have a few more active listings that are out there right now than we did this same time last year. Like we have 987 versus last year in November, we had 852. Average home sale price for the year so far is up 2.4%. So really a very mild market as far as appreciation goes. And we have seen the inventory number has dropped a little bit because of that declining number of active listings that are out there. And we've seen the pendings and the solds stay pretty solid. So technically we're at a 1.9 months of inventory, whereas last month we were at a 2.2. I will say that even though it says that it's a seller's market, a really strong seller's market, I personally don't feel like it's behaving that way. And I've been saying this a little bit, well, not a little bit, actually quite a bit, that's how the market feels. So the numbers are a little misleading, and that's just how it is. So even though anything that's under 3 months of inventory is deemed a seller's market, it just doesn't feel that way. Now, that being said, I think that could shift gears if we go in and the Fed rates and all that kind of stuff starts making it more affordable. I think you could see a push for buyers jumping back into the market at a stronger pace to have the market demand just go up. So the supply and demand could be an issue there. So anyway. Okay, shifting gears out of the market stuff, I do want to just touch on a couple of things that I mentioned in the email newsletter. One of them is one of the things that's been keeping at least me really busy is we've had my oldest son and his wife move to Kentucky. And we had this great idea to follow them back there. And so we bought an RV, which is actually, in my opinion, never a good idea. At this point, I can say. And we flat towed a Suburban behind the RV. So a 40-foot RV is not quite enough. You need to flat tow a Suburban behind it. So anyway, we did that. And actually the trip turned out really well until we were coming back and coming through Montana on the last leg of the trip. We hit a deer. So now this RV is at the Camping World Body Shop, and it's getting looked at, so we'll see how that goes. Anyway, fortunately no one was hurt. Like seriously, it could have been really bad. All that turned out is about as good as it could have given the circumstances. Okay, now for the attorney situation. So I'm going to share this story with you guys because these are the kinds of things that you don't oftentimes really hear about from the real estate transactions. And this is where, like I've told people before, having a good real estate agent or a real estate team on your side is very similar to having good insurance. I didn't even mean to tie that in with the RV, but it is applicable because just like in a real estate transaction and insurance, once something happens, like if you view a good realtor like having good insurance, if something happens and you don't have a good realtor in that situation, just like if you don't have good insurance, you can't change it at that point. Like it's too late. You're stuck with what you have. So this particular situation, we were representing a seller, and it was a pretty high-end property. It was about 1.6 to 1.7 million dollars. So it's not we're not talking small potatoes here. And the buyer that we had accepted the offer, or that my seller had accepted the offer on, was out of California, had a home to sell for like $3 or $4 million, more chump change, right? And they had submitted a contingent offer that my seller elected to accept with a bump clause. And so we got another offer, and so we basically enforced the bump clause, notified this buyer that was under contract, and they elected to remove their contingency. Now, through that process, we had requested, or not requested, but we basically required them to show proof of funds that they could execute the sale without the sale of their home in California, which they did. And we were very particular about getting that information because the first round of information they gave us did not satisfy us. And so we stuck to it, which was important later. So anyway, so everything seems to be going fine, chugging along. 1 week before closing, I get a call from the buyer's agent, and he says, "Hey, you're not gonna like this. I'm really sorry. My clients actually do need to sell their home." And I said, "Oh, really? Okay." I didn't really say a whole lot at that moment. I just kind of took it all in, hung up the phone, because I didn't want to say too much. I wanted to gather more information. Contacted my seller, was not happy, understandably so, but it's my job to at least let him know, hey, here's what I'm being told, and so forth. After that, I contacted the buyer's lender. And now granted, the buyer's lender is not able to share certain information. However, they have their name on this approval letter. And so I wanted to find out if indeed the buyer still does qualify, or if now they've fallen out of qualification with the lender, in which case they could execute the financing contingency and what are we gonna do? The lender says basically, no, they still qualify. They're just fine. I said, okay, great. So from that, obviously I called the agent back and I just said, look, here's what we understand. This is what the lender has told us, blah, blah, blah. And we knew from previous case precedents, I guess you could say, in Idaho, that when somebody qualifies for something like that and they're technically able to purchase the home that they've agreed to with a legally binding contract like the RE21 is, you can sue them for specific performance. Now, I don't want to get into all the details about that because that would be a really long, boring video. And hey, we're probably already there anyway. But the important thing is that we knew that we could press them pretty well on that. And so what we did is we had an attorney write a letter basically outlining that and telling the buyer, here's what you're going to be facing. Again, I don't want to get into all of that. You can certainly contact me and we could talk about it. But the nuts and bolts of it are that the buyer ended up realizing that they're going to buy this house. And that's what happened. And so they did close on the deal. Everyone moved on after that. And so why do I bring that up? So like I mentioned earlier, this is the kind of thing that you don't oftentimes hear about in real estate transactions. And honestly, you hope that you don't. You hope that you don't have this kind of stuff come up, because even if you're able to deal with it, it's very stressful. You try to avoid this kind of thing, which again, a good realtor, whether it's me or someone else, there's plenty of good realtors out there, but you want to avoid these kinds of things actually. And being able to anticipate these things in advance is the best way to go. And sometimes you just can't. Stuff happens, people are weird. But again, I just share this with you guys because it really is important. I can't stress enough how important it is. Well, just like anything, you want to have good people on your team and people that know the rules, know how to help you get what you're after and to protect your best interests. So anyway, like I say, hopefully you never have to deal with that ever. But if you do, make sure that you're working with someone that can help you with it. That being said, like I always say in real estate, there's no guarantees. Even the best realtors have stuff come up that you just sometimes don't see coming. So anyway, hope you guys have an awesome Christmas. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. And I will not be missing the next newsletters like I have been. So I apologize for that. All right. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.